Welcome to Grim Storytellers. I'm back with a scary story for you all. If you are interested in scary stories based on true stories, then you should subscribe to this channel so that it will be an impressive experience for you. This time, the story comes from Hannah Caldwell, telling about the memories with her deceased child that became an unforgettable nightmare. And this story begins with It was a day like any other when I stepped into my son's bedroom, a space that still held the echoes of his laughter. Sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating the bright, cheerful decor, his bed neatly made with colorful bedding featuring his favorite cartoon characters. Toys remained perfectly arranged in bins on shelves, untouched since he left. Today should have been his 7th birthday, a day filled with joy and celebration. Instead, it felt like a haunting reminder of the life that could have been, each item whispering memories of a child who would never grow up. My heart ached as I stood there, grappling with the loss that lingered in the air, heavy and unrelenting. As I wandered through the dimly lit aisles, each toy and piece of clothing felt like a ghost, whispering echoes of our past. I tried to let go of the physical reminders tethering my heart to those days of unfiltered joy. But when I picked up an old, battered teddy bear, I hesitated. It was his favorite, the one he called Mr. Cuddles. "Mummy," he used to say, eyes sparkling with delight when I handed it to him. But I could not be trapped by the safety of memories anymore. It was time to move on. Biting back my grief, I shoved Mr. Cuddles into a box labeled "Throwaway." The box filled quickly, a tapestry of a childhood now lost, each item a thread woven into my sorrow. Once my collection was complete, I drove to the city dump. The place loomed before me, a wasteland of forgotten remnants and discarded dreams. With shaking hands, I lifted the box and unceremoniously tossed it into the pit. Relief washed over me momentarily. Finally, I could break free from the heavy chains of memory. I sank into my seat and began the drive home. But as I glanced in the rearview mirror, my heart stopped dead. Nestled in the back seat sat Mr. Cuddles, its button eyes shimmering like two ominous coals in the fading light. A chill gripped me, clawing at my throat. Hadn't I thrown it away? Panic surged through my veins as I instinctively turned the car around. Back at the dump, my heart raced as I flung the car door open. I searched the expanse for my box, spotting it half buried under a heap of refuse. With desperate hands, I dug it out, my breath shallow and frantic, hurling the bear into the trash again. As I stared at the pile, trying to convince myself I'd done the right thing, unease bubbled up from my stomach. I had done it. I had severed the connection. But I was only a few blocks from home when I felt an unmistakable energy. The air thickened with something sinister. My skin prickled as shadows seemed to stretch and twist around me, whispering my name in a chilling chorus. Later that night, I entered my bedroom, my heart heavy with dread. I took a long moment to gather courage before climbing into bed. I yawned, bracing myself to push the weight of the day away, surrendering to sleep. In the quiet stillness, I squinted into the dim corners of my room and froze. There it was, Mr. Cuddles, right by the window, as if waiting for me, its once inviting face twisted in a frown. My breath quickened. I was certain the bear had been cast away forever. Panic clawed at my mind. Had I truly escaped, or had I just liberated a devilish spirit from the depths of the dump? The nights turned into unending replays of torment. Every time I closed my eyes, I could hear my son's laughter echoing, now a twisted tune laced with horror. I would wake to find Mr. Cuddles again in the corners, on the bed, or even on the dining table, waiting, menacingly silent, as if judging my every fragile breath. Each time I threw it away, it returned, a tormentor that would not relent. A darkness enveloped the house. Shadows danced along the walls, mocking me with glimpses of an unrevivable past. My solace turned to despair, and I could feel the walls closing in. In desperation, I turned to the old woman at the thrift shop where I had once donated my child's clothes. What can I do to rid myself of this curse? I begged, tears streaming down my face. She peered at me with wise old eyes, her voice like rustling leaves. You cannot discard what was loved so deeply. You must confront it. Defeated, I returned home, clenching Mr. Cuddles tightly to my chest. I suddenly realized I wasn't just throwing away a toy, I was discarding a part of my child's spirit. Perhaps it was time to pull it all back. That night, filled with apprehension, I gathered my memories, the photos, the toys, the clothes, and surrounded Mr. Cuddles. I lit a single candle, its soft flickering illuminating the darkened room. Please forgive me for what I've done, I murmured, tears streaming down my face, feeling vulnerable and raw. I thought letting go meant moving on. As the candle burned, a warmth enveloped the room. Silently, I held the teddy bear, feeling a pull, a stirring of love. At that moment, the darkness unraveled, threading pure love and sorrow through my trembling hands. But then, a sudden crash echoed from the kitchen. My heart raced as I turned to look, the candle flickering ominously. I rushed to the kitchen, only to find it empty, the shadows stretching unnaturally along the walls. The floor creaked behind me. I turned, and there stood Mr. Cuddles, somehow closer now, its button eyes glinting with malicious intent.
Stay away from me!
I screamed, but my voice trembled. The bear tilted its head, a mocking gesture that sent chills down my spine. It was no longer just a toy, it had become a harbinger of my deepest fears. That night, sleep came fitfully. I was jolted awake by a whisper that slithered through the darkness.
Mommy!
The voice was sweet yet twisted, echoing with the innocence I once knew. My son's laughter rang out, but it was laced with something darker. The shadows danced, forming shapes that flickered just beyond my vision. In a panic, I tore through the house, searching for the source of the voice. I stumbled upon a hidden door I'd never noticed before, leading to a small, forgotten room filled with my son's old toys. In the center stood a small altar, with Mr. Cuddles placed upon it, surrounded by flickering candles. I felt a pull, an overwhelming urge to approach. As I reached for the bear, a sudden gust of wind extinguished the candles, plunging the room into darkness. The shadows lunged at me, and I stumbled back, heart racing. I could hear my son's laughter again, now a cacophony of voices, all mingling with the whispers of the shadows. Desperate, I grabbed Mr. Cuddles and fled the room, slamming the door behind me. I was determined to end this nightmare. I had to confront the echoes of my past. That night, under the light of the moon, I buried Mr. Cuddles in the backyard, whispering apologies into the earth. I'm sorry, my love. I must let you go. But as I turned to leave, the ground trembled beneath my feet. I fell, and the earth around me split open, revealing a dark abyss. From it emerged a swirling mass of shadows, each one whispering my son's name, taunting me.
Mummy, come play.
In that moment, I realized the terrible truth. My attempts to let go had only unleashed the darkness that had been lurking, waiting for me to return. With a surge of determination, I stood and faced the shadows.
I will not let you take me!
I shouted.
You are not my son!
The shadows recoiled momentarily, and I seized the chance to escape, sprinting back to the house as the echoes of laughter faded into anguished wails. Inside, I barricaded the doors, my heart racing with fear. As I sank to the floor, I felt a weight lift from my heart. Perhaps I could confront my grief and keep my son's memory alive without the torment of the past. But then, a soft tap echoed from the window. I hesitated before turning around. There, peering through the glass, was Mr. Cuddles, its eyes gleaming in the moonlight. The bear was back again, a sinister smile stitched across its face. In that moment, I knew the battle was far from over. The echoes of my past had become a part of me, and as I gripped my chest, I realized I would have to confront this darkness once and for all. With a resolve I didn't know I had, I stood, prepared to face whatever horrors awaited me. The shadows were alive, waiting for me to falter, but I would not let them win. I would reclaim my son's spirit and banish the darkness that had taken root in my heart. As the moon hung high in the night sky, I took a deep breath and opened the door, stepping into the unknown. Thank you for joining us on this haunting journey through fragments of a forgotten joy. We hope you felt the weight of lost memories and the struggle between love and sorrow. If you enjoyed this tale and want to hear more gripping stories that linger in the shadows, be sure to subscribe to the Grim Storytellers channel. Your support helps us weave more chilling narratives that captivate and inspire. Until next time, keep your memories close and your fears closer.